Welcome to UC Today. My name's David Dungay. We have a fantastic exclusive interview with CEO Alan Maserak. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
So,
A little tired. It's been a long day, but great to see you again.
So Avaya, this is a historic moment in Avaya's history.
Yes, it is.
Fresh out of Chapter 11. First of all, congratulations on getting through that process.
Thank you.
Not an easy process to get through.
That's exactly right.
We last spoke last summer. Tell me, how much of this last 76 days was inevitable? We weren't talking about Chapter 11 at that stage. What led to this process?
Look, when I came here, it was clear that we needed to restructure the company both in terms of its balance sheet and then a whole series of operational changes around product strategy, go-to-market, organizational alignment. That restructuring of our debt, because we were over-levered, ultimately it was concluded that the best way to do that was through a Chapter 11 filing. Now, so there's an in-court Chapter 11 or an out-of-court. So once we concluded that it was going to be Chapter 11, then it was how to do it in what's called a prepackaged Chapter 11, which simply means that all the impacted creditors are signatories of a negotiated restructuring going in. That's why it was so short. So we filed on February 14th. The plan actually was fully confirmed by the bankruptcy court on March 22nd. The emergence actually happened on May 1, just 3 days ago. But the bankruptcy process ended after only 35 days, really. There's some regulatory things that need to happen that have nothing to do with the bankruptcy, but we are fully emerged. And the result has been extraordinary. So we took what was the debt balance of about $3.9 billion and not a lot of cash. And we had our investors and lenders wrote that debt from $3.9 billion all the way down to $150 million. And then that same group of investors invested $650 million more as debt, but fresh capital into the company. So that 650 of the new pairs with the 150 of the written down value. So the go forward indebtedness is 800. It's not due until 2028. But it leaves behind $650 million in liquidity. So for a company of our size, it's a very modest amount of gross debt and not due for 5.5 years. It's very little net debt if you net out the cash. And the company has emerged from this process profitable, cash flow generating. So we do about $2 billion in revenue, but are generating cash. So from a capital structure point of view, it's a pretty extraordinary result.
I want to talk about the capital structure in a moment, but before we get there,
all right.
You've made a lot of tough decisions over the last 6 months or so. What's been the toughest decisions you've had to make throughout this whole journey?
Well, there's been a lot of tough decisions. I mean, you don't go into an in-court restructuring sort of in any sort of half measure, because it has a consequence to it. As those lenders forgave billions of dollars of debt, they in exchange get the stock of the company. So those stockholders pre the filing got eliminated, and that's very bittersweet for me. I mean, it's great that we were able to eliminate billions of dollars of debt, but I hate the fact that stockholders, some of whom are employees of the company, lost their money on their stockholding interest in the company. So all these types of transformations have difficult decisions embedded in them. We've had to do reductions in force to right size our cost structure. Those are, tough decisions, but my view is do those actions, even if they're sort of uncomfortable, do them as quickly and as efficiently as you can, always with a high degree of respect, be open and transparent with your employees, even those you have to part company with, and get it done quickly. And then as an organization, we heal. And that's precisely what we've done. So all those rifts They happened. They were, unfortunate, but they're behind us.
So the healing process is ahead. Tell me though, this is the second time Avaya's gone through this process. There's a few, key differences this time around. But why is the end result going to be different this time?
Well, the restructuring and going in Chapter 11 6 years ago versus now are completely night and day. First, when Avaya 6 years ago emerged, it still had a debt balance over 4 times its earnings, its EBITDA. And back then, EBITDA was at a high level. So it was still more than 4 times debt to EBITDA. Today, if you look at our net debt, that same multiple is way less than 1 times. So you have a company that it's just orders of magnitude different from how healthy our financial strength is. I mean, literally, we've gone from financial weakness to overwhelming financial strength. The whole concept of this is that we can go on offense as a company and invest in our products, in our people, in our brand, in our distribution.
Let's dig into that investment then a little bit. What can we all expect from this new restructuring, and you've got this money now to play with to really double down on those key areas where you see that growth. Where's that $650 million? Where's it going to go?
Well, look, the reason these investors have so well capitalized the company, and when I mean so well capitalized, I don't know which among my competitors who I would change places with. I mean, we are profoundly strong from a capital structure perspective now. The investments will go in that roadmap, in sort of engineering talent to drive that roadmap. Similarly, in our people, we want to create Avaya as a destination place to work, which means attracting the most talented in our industry. So investing in our culture, in our people, in our talent is a very important element of that. We also have to continue to invest in our brand, in the awareness, everyone's recognition that this financial challenges of the last year are fully behind us, and that all the work that we're doing as we move further and further to the cloud in our solutions is what the customers have been asking for, what they want. Will help modernize them and take them on that journey, wherever it takes them, all the way to public cloud or some baby steps along the way.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the people part of that then. Clearly, you mentioned, unfortunately, a lot of people, lost some of those investments. How are you going to restore that trust? What does making Avaya a destination place to work? What does that mean exactly?
So first of all, being a destination place to work means creating a culture that attracts the most talented in its industry. That's sort of the barometer of it. The way we track it, there's 3 constituent elements to it: rewards and recognition, culture itself, and growth and development. And while the health of a workforce, the vitality of a culture is sort of inherently qualitative, it's a very personal thing, it does reflect itself quantitatively. So in engagement scores, in seeing your voluntary attrition decline, regrettable attrition decline, you see internal referral go up, meaning, I tell a good friend, apply here, it's a cool place to work. Those sorts of things. You'll see your Glassdoor rankings go up. So I have every confidence that we're seeing, it's a journey that continues, but we're seeing it already, and we'll continue to see it in ever more positive ways. Relative to your question about trust, I think trust is at an incredibly high level. I think the organization has a far greater kind of spring in its step, a sense of confidence than it had a year ago. Because I think people believe in the strategy. We've been able to sort of demonstrate successfully our ability to recapitalize the business. We're making progress with our customers, with our partners. Our roadmap delivery is very fast. And so while it is certainly bittersweet that employees who bought stock that they didn't get a chance to sell lost their money, and it bothers me. Everyone that I've spoken to, no one likes it, but they understand, and they are huge believers in the future of the company. So I actually think trust is at a very high level. And even though we had to do these fairly large cost actions in terms of reducing our quantity of staff, I still feel that spring in everybody's step. I truly do.
Well, let's go to the products now. Obviously, there's going to be some investment in that roadmap we talked about. Let's start with the CX or the CCaaS side of the business, the experience platform particularly. What are you going to do there? What are we going to see from Avaya this year?
So our CCaaS solution, we have rebranded the Avaya Experience Platform. The reason we call it the Experience Platform is that we fundamentally believe where the market is moving is in providing the underlying technology to a business to help enable their customer and employee experience. Because all companies go through a very similar motion with their customers. They start going outbound to prospects. They turn some of those prospects into opportunities, qualified opportunities. Salespeople turn some of those opportunities into customers. Customers come inbound in a normal agent motion. And then account management goes outbound to customers for upsell, renewal, engagement, things like that. Those interactions cross agent and employee. They now happen omni-channel. They happen across digital, social, voice, video, messaging. All of those interactions need to be captured. The core of that is contact center functionality. So where I think the smarter communication companies are going is realizing that the holy grail is to be the underlying technology for the business, that our downstream business, for them to create a great experience for their clients.
We've been talking about Avaya's big install base for many, many years.
Yeah.
Much of it still is on premise. What are we going to see from a migration point of view to the cloud? You've got those products kind of in place now.
Yeah.
What's that going to look like?
So first of all, the sales motions, there's really three. We still sell prem around our core platforms, IP Office, Aura, and Elite. The other sort of bookend is we sell our multi-tenanted public cloud solutions, the Experience Platform, and Avaya Cloud Office, our public UCaaS. And then that third motion is the base migration that you suggested. So there's 90,000 customers, most of whom are on some level of cloud journey. The smaller ones will move more quickly to the cloud. It's sort of the typical motion. But the very large customers that we're very over-indexed to, for them it's a much more gradual journey. And so the theme of that, we talked about this last summer, is we call it innovation without disruption. Perfect example is a customer who's running our premise architected contact center. That voice solution is very mature, feature-rich, battle-tested, and is typically bespoke throughout the customer's environment. And the customer does not want to rip it out because it would create great disruption. It would create business risk. But at the same time, they need to augment that voice-only contact center with other channels, chat, social, digital. So what happens is it's effectively a hybrid. You pull over the top from the Avaya Experience Platform, chat, social, digital. It pairs with a unified client that sits between the over-the-top features coming from the cloud and the prem voice that stays intact. So we innovate you without disrupting and creating the business risk. That has resonated really, really well with our customers. The base is moving to the cloud, to our cloud products in it's sort of very simple motion. So we have an enormous base of UC customers. At the mid-market, that's typically served with a product named IP Office. Those customers are moving to Avaya Cloud Office, our public UCaaS. If you go up to the enterprise in the UC space, our Aura platform, those customers, again, they could stay on Aura in the data center just like they do today. But if they want to move to the cloud, and this is part of the migration, they could move to Avaya Cloud Office, or they could stay as the same premise architected solution, and we'll move it into Microsoft Azure as a dedicated instance in the cloud. In each situation like that, you're modernizing the customer and taking them on their cloud journey. Last piece, if you have a contact center customer, elite on the premise, they can migrate sort of in 3 steps. They can go to the Experience Platform in total, so kind of exit the prem fully and go to AXP. They can go to AXP as a hybrid. So the example I gave before, they want to pull down chat, social, or digital. Or that premise inbound voice solution, the Elite platform, can itself be moved to Microsoft Azure as a dedicated instance. What this creates for the customer is choice. It's their journey. They can stay on-prem if they so choose. They can move in sort of a series of baby steps I just described to the cloud. They can move their infrastructure to the cloud, or they can move all the way to the public cloud. It's simply respecting the customer on their cloud journey and providing the enabling technology for it. Not, as some of our competitors do, saying, we're going to de-emphasize prem, and we're not going to support dedicated instance, and we're going to force everyone to go to the full public cloud. That is not what many customers want to do, particularly the large ones. They want to avoid that disruption.
Talk to me about the UCaaS side of the business. Obviously, you have a very deep relationship with RingCentral.
Yep.
Around the ACO product. Are there any plans around to change that? Are we going to see anything else in the UCaaS area for Avaya?
Well, we just changed that contract with RingCentral. So the original contract was executed back in 2019. We've changed it in very meaningful ways that I think will generate a lot more seat sales. So the old model just had an agency model, meaning it would, it's Avaya Cloud Office is a reskin of RingCentral under the covers. And we would sell in an agency model, and it would go on RingCentral's paper. That created some account control issues, and so there was some reticence to bring ACO into the base. Well, now in the new contract, we've created a wholesale model to go along with the agency model. So in the wholesale model, it can go on our paper. So there's no account control issues. And in addition to now having a second model, we also have proprietary integrations that only exist in Avaya Cloud Office, in ACO. So the Experience Platform and ACO are being integrated. That's a proprietary integration. Because I've been saying for years, UCaaS and CCaaS are coming together. And you also we're developing the integration between ACO and Elite and our prem contact center, which is also proprietary. So I think by virtue of having the two models and resolving the account control issues and having proprietary integrations, I think we're going to do very well with that relationship.
As we're talking about wholesale models, and we're at Channel Partners here in Las Vegas, tell me about some of those channel conversations you've been having this week with your partners. What have they been really probing you about around the future of Avaya?
So look, I've had now dozens and dozens of conversations with our partners from disties to VARs to the whole TSD channel, sub agents, and the senior master agents. I think the messaging has been incredibly well received. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here at the show. It's such an important show for our industry. I want to make sure that our Avaya's visibility is very clear and the story is very clear. So it's given me an opportunity to sort of clarify any questions people have about the financial restructuring. Just take that off the table. And then secondly, it's given us an opportunity to sort of talk through those migrations that I just explained to you in a very simple, logical way. IP Office can go to ACO, Aura can go to ACO, and or to the Microsoft Azure Cloud, et cetera, as I described with Elite. And what's very exciting for the partner community is that those customers want those modernizations. Now, not all of them, but those who want to modernize and move to the cloud, there's now that opportunity. And from a revenue generation opportunity, it's good for Avaya as the vendor, and it's good for our partner as well, because that modernization, what that customer wants, obviously is a revenue creating event. So I think as they understand it more clearly, they now see this opportunity to really modernize and monetize the Avaya base.
How are you going to persuade some of those partners that have moved away from Avaya over the last however many years to come back to you now?
It's interesting. I would have to break the partners into two big groups. The old, not old, but back years ago before we were involved in cloud, our partner base, our distribution base were disties, VARs, SPs, things like that. They've not left us. In virtually all the cases, we're still, as a vendor for that class of partner, the top three. So it is important for both of us for there to be a healthy Avaya, because we're important to them and they are important to us. The agency model, which has become incredibly important to us, is more of a born in the cloud model. Many years ago, Avaya didn't have those relationships because we only got into cloud products beginning in 2019 with the original RingCentral deal for Avaya Cloud Office. We've now added to it, meaningfully so, with the Avaya Experience Platform and the Avaya Enterprise Cloud, which is moving into Microsoft Azure. So we have much more to talk about with the partner community, and we've had an opportunity this week to meet with dozens and dozens and dozens of partners. That's why my voice sounds the way it sounds. And I think we've made, really good, headway and sort of improved the visibility and kind of demystified all the, financial stuff that, went on.
What are your growth ambitions from a channel perspective? What are we going to be talking about in 12 months?
Channel is incredibly important to us. Throughout the world, and we sell in 190 countries, almost 3/4 of all of our revenue are generated through a partner. Again, whether it's a distie, a VAR, an SP, a TSD, an agent. In the pure cloud side, it's way more than 70+%. It's virtually all. So these partner channels are critically important to us.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk a little bit about your new board of directors as well.
Okay.
Lots of new faces there, and new experience on board. What makes this collection of individuals, the best collection of individuals for Avaya, and how are they going to get the job done?
So first of all, when you go through the Chapter 11 process, and again, the lenders become the shareholders through the process. So the actual mechanics of it is that the old board, sort of resigned, ceased to be as of the emergence on May 1st, on Monday. We had a 9-person board. As CEO, I'm the only sort of member that carries forward to the new board. So we have a 9-person new board. So as CEO, I carry forward, but the others go away. The new board is broken down between 4 representatives of the financial investors, private equity firms and lenders, and 4 are independents. So, we've worked together with our new owners, used Korn Ferry for the search, and come up with, I think, a very interesting group of directors with very specific experience in our industry. We have, the former CRO from Genesis. We have the former CEO of Avaya. We've got the woman who is the CMO of Teradata. We have Todd Nielsen, who's a very accomplished, multiple-time private and public company CEO that gives that breadth of experience. And then we have the folks from the private equity and lender side who are just very sophisticated financial investors, do this for a living. And so I think it's going to be a great board. The governance structure of it is going to look like most public boards. We're merging private, but it's sort of the same governance structure. You have an audit committee and a compensation committee, and you work on strategic issues, and all the same.
Fantastic. So, Alan, in your previous role, you have formed for coming into business, restructuring, sorting out the portfolio, simplifying the product lines and product sets, and then eventually ended in a sale. Are we going to see something similar here at Avaya? Are we going to end up in a sale sort of situation?
You never know. What you're referencing first is, most recently, I was CEO of Vonage, and Vonage was a very successful transformation and culminated ultimately in the sale to Ericsson for over $6 billion. So it was a very successful transformation. Here, the way, these investors realize their return, it could be a sale or a public offering. My own view is it's probably far more likely that it'll be a public offering, an IPO. I think that we will likely be an acquirer of other companies, and having public currency to do that with makes that easier. Now, you never know, but that's my gut tells me.
Great. Okay, so we're nearing the end of the interview. What kind of message do you want to leave your customers, partners, and your staff with as you step forward on this journey?
Well, first of all, I've got a great sense of gratitude to those customers, partners, and employees. It's been a challenging road. So everyone's had to go through a lot. So, what we're doing to transform the company, as I said at the outset, is 2 big pieces: a financial restructuring, which is done, and then sort of your classic business restructuring, resetting product strategy, resetting go-to-market, aligning the organization behind it, and revitalizing the culture around this initiative we call Destination Place to Work. Been a lot of work. It's going to continue to be a lot of work. But I'll say that in the 9 months since I've been here, that thesis that we came here to execute on, in terms of what I've seen along the way, it's actually been confidence inspiring. So the first day I was here, I said to our colleagues, when we did a global all hands, I said, we're still settling on the strategy, but prepare to win. Prepare to win. It's now ever clearer to me that we can win, that we will win. Now, we have to execute, but every company needs to execute. That's our responsibility. That's why we come to work in the morning. So I think we're getting into the more and more fun stage. And this is the stuff that I really like doing on, resetting product and go-to-market strategies and things like that, and, creating great culture. So I think the future is way brighter than the recent past, and the opportunity is pretty profound.
Alan, congratulations again, and I wish you luck on the future of Avaya.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today.